can hear us. So to start this webinar, we welcome you all our participants. This is a joint webinar between FAO's e-agriculture team in conjunction with the Grameen Foundation, and we are pleased to present this FarmerLink in the Philippines, the digital innovation for agriculture. So we have two presenters this afternoon. The first presenter is Ana Herrera. She is a senior program officer with Grameen Foundation, its digital innovation for agriculture program. She has a wide experience in this program and also in consortium building and digital solutions for agriculture and rural development. The second presenter will be Judith Anoleto. She leads content services of Grameen Foundation FarmerLink program in the Philippines, and she takes care of the content of this particular program. Your host, myself, I'm Tembani Malapela from FAO, from the agriculture team, and I will be your host. So for us to have a very fine start of this webinar, we are going to have a presentation, and we will ask you to hold on to your questions, and then at the end of this presentation we will take in some questions through the chat that you all are able to see, and then we will also give the opportunities of our presenters to be able to do so. So for now, we cross over to Anna and Judith. First Anna, if you can present, and thereafter immediately Judith will take over.
All right, thank you, Tembani, and thank you to FAO and especially the e-agriculture team for providing the opportunity for Grameen Foundation to share our program called FarmerLink, as well as some of our lessons learned and some of the challenges in the program implementation. So as Tembani said, my name is Ana Herrera, and I'm together with my colleague Judith Anoleto, and we will be presenting the FarmerLink program. There are 5 main sections of the presentation today. First, we will provide you with an overview, just very quick overview of what Grameen Foundation does, and the program FarmerLink, a program snapshot. We will then proceed with the evaluation results, some of the results that we've seen throughout the 18 months pilot of the program. We'll also share some of the lessons learned that we have and the best practices throughout the execution of the project. And then lastly, we'll share where we are now and how we've been applying the lessons that we've learned throughout. Of course, after all these sections, we will have time. We will ensure that we have time for question and answer and knowledge exchange. So just very quickly, Grameen Foundation, we are a non-profit organization. Our headquarters is based in Washington, D.C., and we really work in 3 main areas, one of which is agriculture, the second one is financial services, and the third one is health. I will focus on our programs in agriculture. A lot of our programs focus on innovations that deal with technology, mobile technology, as well as other different types of technology, so we can design appropriate financial products and services for farmers, provide very effective and appropriate training to encourage adoption of good agricultural practices. We also use technology to provide a lot of data so that farmers can better manage their farms through farm plans. And then what you will see later is we've also used technology in developing and deploying an early warning system so that farmers can be alerted of weather events or potential pest and disease outbreaks. There's also a lot of emphasis on connecting farmers to market standards, price informations, and of course, buyers. Now, the approach of Grameen Foundation is there are 3 main elements, and these are the blue boxes that you're seeing on the screen right now in our technology programs. First, of course, there's technology and the use of mobile tools. And throughout these tools and technology, we're able to not only collect data from the farmers, but also provide information back to the farmers themselves. And at points, there are projects that we also facilitate transactions between farmers, buyers, and financial services providers. Technology also enable us to manage our field force on the ground. So these are what we're calling the last mile agent network or field coordinators. And it also enables a lot of data analysis and report and dashboard creation so that farmers can better manage their farms, as well as value chain players are informed of the decisions that they need to make on the ground. The second element is the last mile agent network. This just essentially means the people who regularly interact with the farmers. So in all of the programs that we've had throughout the regions where we're in, we've actually worked with different types of agent networks. These can be farmer leaders or cooperative members or government extension workers, and even, of course, private extension workers. Those who heavily interact with the farmers on the field, visit their farms, and provide them with training, extension, and other types of services. And then the third element, and this is something that we will talk about in detail as we go into the FarmerLink program, are strategic alliances. So in Grameen Foundation, we do believe that a consortium approach is a very powerful approach in order to tackle the complex challenges that we have for agriculture and the complex challenges that farmers face. And so in our projects, we always build partnerships and consortiums to deliver the programs that we design. Now, Judith will actually provide us a lot of the details on the FarmerLink program. But just a quick introduction, FarmerLink is actually a program for coconut smallholder farmers.
We seem to have lost audio of Anna. Just give us a second so we try to bring.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I think I lost connection for a few minutes there. Tembani, which was the last part that everyone heard?
I think you can start from the slide that we see.
Okay, we were saying that in the elements of, there are really three elements of Grameen Foundation's programs. One is mobile technology, the second one is last mile agent network, and then the last one is strategic alliances. With mobile technology, this enables us to collect information from the farmers, but at the same time provide information back to the farmers. In some of our projects, technology enables us to facilitate transactions, whether with financial services providers or buyers. This also enables us to manage field force and make decisions on the ground more effectively through different types of analytics, reports, and dashboards. The last mile field agent network is it's actually different types of people, but the most critical one is that they regularly interact with the farmers, providing training, extension, and other types of services. In the case of Grameen Foundation, what we've actually managed and work with different types of agents from farmer lead.
Anna, we are losing you, so if you could make sure that your microphone is stable and not moving because it shakes off, okay?
To government extension workers and also private extension workers. And then the last element is strategic alliances, and this is something that we'll talk about a lot in the FarmerLink program later on. We believe that a consortium approach is actually a powerful one, especially in tackling some. So the next slide is actually going.
Anna, can you hear me? Anna, we seem to have lost your sound and it is unstable if we get it.
Implementing partners such as the Franklin Baker Company, a private company for coconuts, and then we have a rural bank, and then also we have from the government we also have the Philippine Coconut Authority, to cite some examples, and also in the technical side we have international other organizations that can that we have also relied on. So we have here the last mile agent network. I was just looking at the chat, somebody asked about it. So this is a very important component also of our approach, because this refers to the extension workers, the persons who have direct linkage with the farmers, who goes to the farms, to the fields to get information and to deliver also information and other services. So these agents are in fact employees of our partners in the field. So they have earlier relationship even before FarmerLink has arrived, and so they have certain bonding with the farmers in the field, so they know better how to interact with them. So perhaps you can move in the next slide, Tempani.
You can move ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So, in fact, we would like to give you a snapshot of the farmers, of the coconut smallholder farmers in the Philippines. or what we probably can call the beneficiaries of this program. So, who are the coconut smallholder farmers in the Philippines? In fact, they earn only $1.20. Yes, just a little more than $1 a day. That's a $440 annual income for a smallholder coconut farmer in the Philippines. 60% of them live or at below the poverty line. That is despite the fact that the coconut industry is part of a multi-billion export industry. So how does FarmerLink tackle this problem? So FarmerLink combines the power of mobile technology and human networks. FarmerLink helps farmers first improve productivity, then provide access to appropriate financial services, directly link them to market, and reduce their losses to pests and diseases. Within an 18-month pilot implementation of FarmerLink, we have engaged 27,557 farmers with SMS campaigns containing tips on agricultural practices, cash management, and also pests and diseases. We also reached 1,525 farmers and visited them regularly to help them track their finances and productivity, and provide them options on how they can best manage their farms. Next slide, please. Okay, so our vision for resilience. For the smallholder farmers to be resilient, they must achieve household food security, and that they are reliable and capable players in the value chain. So we see that they must have, in fact, these 4 components: improved productivity, increased access to appropriate financial services, direct access to markets, an early warning system to detect pests and diseases. And in order to achieve this, we have engaged various organizations, both from the private and public sectors. To improve productivity, we work closely with Philippine Coconut Authority, which is a government agency. For financial services, with the People's Bank of Caraga. For direct access to markets, with Nutiva, Franklin Baker, and Chocolate de San Isidro. And for the early warning system, we worked with AWER, Palantir, and Engage Park. So in this particular slide, you note that we're also concerned with cacao smallholder farmers. They are in fact coconut farmers who intercrop cacao as another source of income. Next slide, please. Next, please. Thank you. So, how were the farmers engaged? What were their touch points with the program? So, before I move on, may I introduce an important component which I have mentioned a bit earlier, which are the field agents or the extension workers. The field agents are employees of the FarmerLink's partner organizations. They were deployed to conduct various activities with the farmers, and for them to function efficiently in the field, they were trained on the use of mobile tools of FarmerLink, as indicated in step 1. In step 2, the agent, in this case, that guy in Fuchsia, Jorhan, is an employee of Franklin Baker Corporation. In here, he uses the mobile tool application on his tablet. He uses this to collect pertinent information, which results to the farmer profile. In front of him is Farmer Marcelina, who gives the consent before the data is collected. This also signals the farmer's inclusion to the services of FarmerLink, such that in step 3, you can see a farmer reading his SMS from the FarmerLink. He receives a welcome message at the start, and from then on, he receives tips on good agricultural practices, on financial literacy, and pests and diseases every 2 weeks. Farmers who have expressed to have a more intensive experience are coached how to fully adopt the recommended practices. As you can see in step 4, field agent Jam, her name is Jam, conducts coaching and monitoring using the mobile tools Farm Management Plan and Harvest Monitoring Tool with a farmer. Farmers who are part of this more intensive program also uses a FarmerLink calendar wherein he can write down the tips, write down his plans, and his financial records. When applicable, the farmer can receive SMS alerts to warn them of extreme weather conditions and risks of pests and disease attacks. The farmer can also opt to go through organic certification and avail of financial services if he wants. Let me emphasize that the farmer profile collected at the start of the program in step 2 largely defines the services that are consequently delivered to each farmer. Next, please. Okay, so let me explain further the mobile tools that were used in FarmerLink. Next, please. We developed data collection tools to come up with farmers' profiles and track the activities of the farmers. With these tools, we were able to generate information necessary in coaching farmers and in giving concrete basis to management decisions of our partners. With such, we learned various stories, not only farming stories, but life stories such as that of Nanay Effie or Mother Effie. So in this slide, we see Nanay Effie, who is at least 61 years old, a resident of Samal Island in Davao City, and she is the wife of the head of the family, and her attained highest education level is elementary, as you can see on this slide. Next, please. If we go further to her profile, we can continue to understand her situation. So from the collection of data from the field, here now is the profile where we learned that Nanay Effie had been growing coconut trees in the past 36 years and that their income comes solely from coconuts. We also learned that from the last harvest, they had 2,300 kilograms of whole nuts from their 3-hectare farm. And then we can deduce that they do 6 harvests in a year, which is ideal. But after confronting this information with the standards, it can be shown that their production is way lower than the ideal rate of production, in fact, around 37%. This demonstrates that we can discern a lot of other information by just looking at this one page. Next, please. So, if we want to have some clues as to why Nanay Effie's farm has low productivity, we can look at her farming practices. On this slide, we learned that she does not, in fact, fertilize as recommended by the Coconut Authority. And then there's the question if she applies mulch around her 300 coconut trees. Her answer is no. What about the removal of old leaves? Yes, they do that. Then, do they observe the right maturity index when they harvest the nuts? That too they practice. From this data, it tells us that, sadly, Nanay Effie does not practice 2 of the most important practices that can affect the productivity of her farm: salt fertilization and mulching. With the combination of the raw data gathered from the field, through Nanay Effie's profile, we can draw a lot of indications as to the whys of her farming and her life situation. This profile, in fact, can lead us to several decisions, such as the management of field operations and in the distribution of farm inputs. Which leads us to the next mobile tool that FarmerLink has developed. Because we would like to give advice to Nanay Effie based on her actual operations, FarmerLink developed Farm Management Plan tool. Next slide, please. So the Farm Management Plan, or FMP as we call us in our team, is another mobile application which collects data directly from each farmer on a regular basis, again conducted by a field agent. This tool provides the field agent a record and a detailed guide in probing the agricultural practices of the farmer every time he does his bi-monthly visits. The tool ensures that important topics are discussed and decisions are based on the actual performance of the farmer. Next slide, please. So for every series of check-up questions, a recommendation is indicated on what the farmer can do. The field agent can expound on this, therefore giving advice in the process. This is an opportunity for the agent to take note of the needs of the farmer and for the farmer to make his things to do list. Next slide, please. As I have mentioned earlier, from the raw data collected in the field, reports and dashboards can be consolidated according to the needs of the organizations implementing the program. Raw data generated, almost if not real time, and accurately can result to better decisions. Also, the performance of the field agents can be investigated or be transparent to their managers and supervisors. And also, for example, in the certification process, like organic certification, they can also understand the situation of the farmer. Next one, please. And then it is also possible to draw information on the farmer's access to financial services, because from the farmer profile, we also have information on the socioeconomic situation of the farmer. We can draw information that can be important for rural banks, for example, in identifying their target clients to cite another application of the program. Next slide, please. So, to equip the field agents of the agronomic and financial management inputs, FarmerLink has also provided them with a source of information or reference in their tablet, which they can use even offline. This is the CKW Search, or Community Knowledge Worker Search. CKW Search is a digital content management tool which contains information on agricultural practices, financial literacy modules, and on pests and diseases. A little earlier, I have discussed the farm management plan, which is used to guide the field agents follow on the farm practices and productivity of the farmers. Included in the assessment notes in that tool are indications where they can read further about the agricultural practices in this CKW Search. Aside from the complementation of the tools of the CKW and the FarmerLink, the farm management plan, this CKW Search can also serve as a source of further reading for the agents before they even go to the field. So, what about the farmers? If we have provided the field agents the tools for collecting data and a digital content management tool, what about the farmers? How could farmers themselves track their farming activities? In every Filipino household, it is common to find at least one large wall calendar. Most of the time, it's in the kitchen. Aside from telling dates, this also serves as a notepad for some important information. We have considered this custom and provided the farmers with a wall calendar with information on the good agricultural practices and financial literacy, and of course, a space for them to write down their notes. Next one, please. So FarmerLink also provides advisories on extreme weather conditions, which could put their farms at risk, for example, from drought and feared pests and diseases. From the satellite data on weather and farm-level data, alerts are triggered. Farmers that are affected receive an SMS of the condition and also actionable recommendations. So at this point, I give back the floor to Anna for the results.
Thanks a lot, Judith. So now we're going to the portion of evaluation results. So Judith talked about the suite of tools, reports, and dashboards that we created. And this has been used by the field agent networks that we worked with throughout the FarmerLink program. In this section, we'll talk about some of the initial results that we've seen throughout the pilot. So there are really four main areas of our results. The first one is what we've seen is that technology-based extension models can enable behavior change and adoption of good agricultural practices. The second one is that we saw that, particularly in the early warning system, that SMS alone can be powerful in driving action. The third one is we also asked the feedback from the farmers and learned that the farmers were very satisfied with the program and agreed that they will gain new skills if FarmerLink is sustained. And then lastly, our partners in the program also saved money and increased efficiencies by using the mobile technology. So in the program, we actually have treatment and control groups. For the treatment groups, we have what we're calling the All Solutions group. So these are farmers that receive not just the SMS-based extension, but they were also visited by an agent on a regular basis. The second treatment group is what we're calling EWS group. Now, these farmers only received SMS-based extension, but were not regularly visited by an extension agent or a field officer. What we saw that when we compared treatment and control groups, the results show that the treatment groups actually have higher increases in adoption rates for 6 out of 9 practices. On the right of the screen, what you will see is the range of good agricultural practices that we've shared and we've promoted with the farmers in the program. Here is a story of one farmer in the program. His name is Michael. And as you can see here, throughout the FarmerLink and by receiving the SMS on a regular basis, he actually jots down the SMS and also does the adoption of practices bit by bit. So whatever that he can realistically adopt for that particular period, he does that. In this particular case, he does cash management practices. We also saw that when going across the 9 practices, when we focus on the key drivers to productivity, these are actually the ones with the highest jumps in adoption, and this is salt fertilizer application and mulching. So for farmers who really don't have a lot of the resources, if they need to focus on the key practices among those 9, it is actually these 2 practices that are really the key drivers and account for majority of the increases in productivity. Again, result number 2, what we've seen is that in the early warning system, farmers like Cristita were driven to adopt certain practices that were provided in the SMS alert that they received. What we saw is that by the end of the 18-month pilot, there were 10,471 farmers who received an SMS from the early warning system. 85% of those said the alerts were accurate. 89% said they learned of the appropriate action. 57 applied the recommended action for weather events, but 65% applied pest and disease mitigation practices. So the more urgent the warning was, the more the farmers were driven to a particular practice that needs to be adopted. The third area of our results is that we wanted to, in order to ensure sustainability for the program, we wanted to make sure that it delivered value both from the farmers and also from the partners' perspective. From the farmers, we're happy to report that a majority of them were very satisfied with the project. So 80% of the farmers in the program reported to be very and extremely satisfied with the project. 90% said that it is likely and extremely likely that they will recommend the project to other farmers if it is sustained. 93% of the farmers also said that they agree or strongly agree that they will gain skills if the project is continued. And then we also wanted to break down the influence of SMS on both financial practices and farm management practices. So for financial practices, we saw that 65% of the respondents said that they confirmed that they've been the messages have been extremely influential to their handling of finances. And then for agronomic or farm management practices, 70% of the farmers who received the messages said that the messages have been very or extremely influential in the current way of how they're managing their farms. This is another farmer story. This time it's from Feliciana, and she received a text message about different financial products and services that were offered by People's Bank of Caraga, who was one of our partners in the FarmerLink program. And upon receiving the text, she informed her group of friends, and they went to one of the branches of People's Bank of Caraga in Davao Oriental, which is in Lupon. And during that really started the process of them obtaining some of the financial products related to actually intercropping, because they were intercropping coconut with cacao. So they were able to receive some of the products and services of People's Bank of Caraga through the program. And then lastly, we not only did we want to deliver value from the farmer's perspective, but we also wanted to make sure that we have a value proposition for the partners. And so what we saw is that the partners in the program actually increased their operational efficiencies using technology. 62% of time was reduced, and with some of our partners, they were able to double their inspection or their farmer outreach, and this contributed to a savings of $3,600 per year per agent, or almost $48,000 if the project was to scale, if the program was to be scaled in the whole of their operations. Now we'll proceed with some of the lessons that we want to highlight. Here you will see that there's actually 5 main lessons that we've learned from the FarmerLink pilot. Number 1, as Judith has shared and we've shared early on in the presentation, we actually have a wide variety of different types of partners in the program, and this enabled us to have a consortium approach in addressing the complex challenges that farmers face. So one of the key lessons was having a consortium approach rather than just having one type of partner is actually very powerful in building resiliency of farmers or building resilient systems. The second lesson was that it was very important for us to embed inclusive decision-making processes throughout program design and implementation to really understand where the farmers are. I saw some of the participants in the chat box are asking, how do we deal with farmers who can't read? A lot of the tools that were developed also have visuals, so that even if we're not able to read, if the farmers are not able to read all the text, we have powerful visual tools that will help them either detect pests and diseases or follow some of the certain agricultural practices that we have. We also have a lot of videos that we presented. So those were developed through a lot of user-centered design research and inclusive decision-making processes. The third one is that there are different channels have varying degrees of impact on behavior change. So SMS can have a different impact. We also experimented with voice messages. That also has a different impact. If one channel like SMS is combined with another channel, which is extension agent, then what we've seen is that that's actually more powerful in driving changes in behavior. The fourth lesson is that it really one of the key things that we wanted to identify was who will own the platform moving forward. And in the beginning, we had our initial theories and hypotheses as a project team, but it really, in the end, what we realized, it really required us to think about what is the strategic context of each of our partners and who is the most appropriate one to be the long-term partner, long-term owner moving forward, given their the values and values, policies, objectives, and strategies that align to the FarmerLink program. So what we did was we actually did a lot of stakeholder analysis for the partners in the program to identify the potential long-term owners. And then lastly, this program, as we've said, it's an 18-month program, and we knew that we needed to have a balance between outreach and impact, and some of the timelines were very constrictive. So what we wanted to make sure, even if we weren't able to capture all the long-term outcomes within an 18-month pilot, we wanted to make sure that we're able to identify some of the early markers of change or indicators that, if sustained over time, can actually provide meaningful indicators and will lead to long-term outcomes that we wanted to measure. So given these lessons that we've had, we also summarized some of the best practices that we've had in the program. One is, especially I think in the case of using mobile tools and technology, prototyping, testing in an iterative process is very important. But not just the process, it's important that we engage different stakeholders, especially the farmers and the agents and the partners. How our team was set up is that we have field operations specialists on the ground who deal with, who interact with the farmers and get their perspective, as well as the agents to know, to figure out usability issues, what are some of their insights, and how we can further improve the tool better. We also had a partnership development team who worked with some of the field supervisors and some of the senior leaders of our partners to understand from their perspective what would be the most effective report and dashboard that will really enable them to make more meaningful decisions on the ground. The second best practice is that we needed to provide, in order to trigger behavior change, we needed to provide actionable messages, right? So it wasn't just about sending, in the case of the early warning system, it wasn't just about sending the weather condition, but we needed to couple that with, well, what can the farmers actually do on the ground? And so that's been a best practice. Every time we also create some of the templates for the SMS, we make sure that we run it by farmers to double check and triple check that these messages actually make sense from a farmer's perspective. The third practice is, I started talking about this earlier on, is that to engage our partners effectively, we needed simultaneous multi-level partnership management. So that means that we're engaging the farmers and field coordinators on the ground, but we're also engaging the board members of our implementing partners in the program. We also made sure that we had very structured platforms and avenues like monthly or quarterly reviews, where we look at the data that's coming from the reports and dashboards so that we can have a dialogue with them, and we will have discussions about the performance and where the program is going. The fourth one is, of course, and for some of the participants here who have been implementing technology programs in rural development, one very best practice is, of course, putting the human component at the center of the program. The human component will always be the agent of change and will be very powerful in the outcomes of what the technology is. So we needed to spend a lot of time in building the agent's capacity, making sure that they're comfortable with the technology and that the technology is actually a tool that is used so that there's a more effective interaction between him and the farmer. So we spent a lot of time actually working with the agent and training them to be comfortable with the technology. And then lastly, two-way feedback loops. What we mean by that is that we're not only collecting information from the farmers, but we need to make sure that we actually inform the farmers of the analyzed data and inform them on how that can actually help them better manage their farm. So what we do was that, again, through the visits that we have with the farmers, as well as the quarterly and monthly performance reviews with the partners, we share a lot of the data that's been collected so that we can then ask them what are the best decisions that they can do to either manage their farm or to make decisions about operations in the field. As we mentioned, the pilot has ended with our donors, and where we took that is right now we're still continuing to implement FarmerLink in the region that we are in the Philippines. People's Bank of Caraga, our financial services provider, actually provided grant post-funding so we can continue implementing with them. They're using the data that we collected from the tools to better understand the poverty profiles of the farmers that they serve and then be able to target the appropriate financial products and extension services. We're also taking the tool to other value chains like cocoa. So we're working with Mars and Rainforest Alliance this time to develop a more robust tool called the Digital Farm Development Plan to increase cocoa farmers' productivity to 1.5 to 2 metric tons per hectare. And this is now implemented in Indonesia and also being replicated in a program called Sat for Farming in Ghana. So we'll pause there and check if there are any questions from.
Okay, thank you very much, Anna and Judith, for your very interesting presentations. We enjoyed a lot, this especially to know exactly how you deal with farmers, how you use especially for early warning systems, and also how the farmers themselves can use this tool within their farming practices. Now, to our participants, we already have some questions that have been coming, but what you can do for now, you could type in your additional questions, and we will ask the presenters to address these questions. As you are also typing, we would like to also make it known to you that this particular presentation is a follow-up to this FarmerLink being selected one of the promising practices within the agriculture framework that can be used and applied elsewhere. So in this framework, I'm going to send you a link of the document that has already been published about this, that you can download and read. You have this link. It is a minor correction, but we will send you, if you are registered for this webinar, the corrected version. Meanwhile, now we take the questions. You could type in your questions. As they are typing in their questions, I will address the ones that I already collected from farmers. So from Judith, you have 2 questions that are there. From Federica, how did you address the problems of illiteracy of poor farmers? And then the second question from Agape is if what she wanted to know, or he wanted to know, if the phones are connected to the internet. If yes, to the internet is not a challenge in the deep villages? So the first one question is illiteracy and internet. Over to you, Judith.
Okay, thank you, Agape, for your questions. So for the literacy, there is a high literacy rate of farmers in the Philippines. And in any case, if they are not very good in reading, there are always family members who can help them understand the text messages or the SMS. And then if it's on about the calendar, it's very visual. Even if you cannot really understand everything, we have put a lot of images there that can help in understanding. And then on the internet of phones, the phones of farmers normally do not have internet. So in fact, we are sending them SMS only. But for the connectivity that could be useful for the field agents, we have developed tools that can work even offline. So from time to time, they must only have to sync when we have updates, or they have to stop to give or submit the data that has been inputted into their tablets. But basically, they can function offline. So there's no problem of connectivity for now in the system that we have used.
Okay. There's another question which you could already address because it came in a number of times. Who pays for the cost of SMS? Do the farmer pay anything at all?
Wait. I can answer that. For now, for the
So during the grant period, the cost of the SMS is not paid for by the farmer. It's paid for by the grant, and for the continuation of the program post grant, it's paid for by the partners. So there's no cost to the farmer at this point.
Related to cost, the sustainability of the project outside the grant.
Yes, one of the sustainability pathways is actually our partners are, with the case of People's Bank of Caraga, they've actually invested financial resources to be able to continue working on the program and implementing the program in the region that we are in. So the sustainability is that the partners have started investing, providing financial resources to be able to continue the program post-grant funding that we received.
Okay, we have another question from Abigail Ramsey. Could you tell us more about the early warning system, how it works? Is it automated? Does it require humans to check weather or pest situations? So they want to know much about the early warning system.
Thanks, Abigail. So the early warning system, we actually, Judith mentioned earlier that we have a group of technology service providers. So we pull weather information and combine that with the GPS data that we collected on the ground from the farmers themselves to know where the location is. And that those two different types of informations are matched with certain parameters that were defined by the Philippine Coconut Authority, this time the government, that will trigger an extreme weather event or a potential pest and disease outbreak. Now, when certain conditions are met, those alerts appear on the early warning system dashboard, which is what we showed you earlier. And this enables, for this particular case, the government to take action on the ground. So what we've been doing is that the government, once the alerts are shown in the dashboard, the government provides a go signal to be able to send the SMS directly to the farmers themselves. So what's important to note here is that the technology in the platform and the tools are there, but it's important to actually have standard operating procedures to ensure that we're able to validate the data, and we actually have an institution or experts in the institutions who will provide the go signal before we send out the alerts to the farmers directly.
Okay, thank you so much. This is very helpful. There's a question from Hideki. What is the difference of the Grameen Foundation e-Act tool compared to the government's extension system?
So in terms of the tools, at least with the government agency that we worked with, which is the Philippine Coconut Authority, a lot of their most of their processes are still done manually. And so what we did was we worked with their current extension system, meaning the network of their field coordinators and field officers, and provided mobile tools to those field officers. So we mobile enabled their extension system. So we worked with an existing human network infrastructure, but in terms of tool and technology, with the government that we worked with, the government agency that we worked with, there wasn't any particular technology platform that they were using. So it was the first time that they used a technology platform in the FarmerLink program.
Thank you. We have a question from Kai. Could you speak more about the mobile internet literacy issue faced and how you overcame it? Did you only select participants with a good level of mobile internet?
Judith, do you want to?
Yeah. Okay. So literacy for the SMS. Partially, I have. Okay. So most of households in the Philippines have mobile phones because that's the only way of communication, even in far-flung barangays. So in some way, because the families also maintain, even one family has one mobile phone for everyone, so they can help each other if one doesn't know how to read the SMS or not. So aside from that, at the start of the in the profiling of the farmers, one basic question that we have asked them is if they have a mobile phone at home or something where they can receive their message. So we have them registered, because if not, since this is a mobile technology program, sad to say, we were not able to include them, at least at this part. Though what happened, there were also households who would share, two households, for example, because it happens in the Philippines that one family is really a big, an extended family. So it happens that one phone could be maybe for 10 people using that phone. So hand in hand, everyone helps in understanding what messages they receive from their mobile phone.
Thank you. There are two small questions. I will answer them, but I'll also give the presenters the chance to. The first one is Meng asked about the scalability of this project, if you can comment on that. And then somebody asked about the report of this experience, whether it could be shared. So first of all, there's a report of the good practices, but I will leave the authors to talk about the report of the whole experience.
Yes, so for the reports, as Timbani shared, there is a publication that's made by the FAO, and it's available in the link that Timbani provided or will provide again after this session. In the Grameen Foundation website, you can also download a copy of the
Anna, could you repeat
full monitoring and evaluation report that we've had for the FarmerLink pilot.
Okay, another question is the possibility to send out, instead of SMS, voice messages.
So I can answer for that, even if I think Gigi partially has all in fact answered that. We have also tried voice messaging, but then since many of the farmers also do not have a strong connection, the lines drop, or the farmer would do not know. I mean, not very familiar with that. So the SMS is still a more reliable way to send information.
Okay, there's a question from Kai. How does the dashboards work, and does the farmer have access to this as well?
I can answer for that. So the dashboards, in fact, the farmers do not see that because the farmers do not have use for the dashboard. It's more for the use of the supervisors and the managers of our partner organizations. So they are provided with a code so that they can enter into that interface of the dashboard. And because that is also what they need to have visibility of what's happening in the field.
Okay, thank you. We can take one or two burning questions that have not been answered. We will give participants a second to type in any burning questions that have not been addressed.
So I think, Tembani, there are a few questions related
Okay,
to...
there is a question from
Sorry, can you hear me, Tembani?
any comments related insurance? Yes, I can hear you. Any questions? A question related to the role of the insurance by Prashad.
Yes, so in the FarmerLink program, we didn't have a chance yet to... We do recognize the importance of the application to insurance in the perhaps in the next phase of the program.
Okay. Any comments from Judith?
No, I just wanted to add, because also Gigi has responded to this question. If the others have not read it, her reply to that is crop insurance is challenged in the Philippines. The government is still working on a risk-based insurance scheme for coconuts. The financial service partner is offering microinsurance instead. Crop insurance is definitely a great next step.
Okay. It seems that we have collected all of the chat's questions. We will send all these questions to our presenters. They will look at them and then they will provide us with a detailed answer, and we will be able to send these answers to you. What we are requesting is that if you haven't registered for this webinar and you would like to receive the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation, and the link to the recording, could you just simply click on the registration form I just sent to you? I mean, you will see it on the chat. Let me send it up again. There it is. You could send your details, and you'll be able to to send in your details, and we'll be able to send you the recording. Any final comments from the presenters? Do you have anything to mention before we?
I just would like to say thank you for all those who participated today, this afternoon. And we are happy that there are a lot of people interested with the study that we have done.
We'll put up a poll, so we would like to thank our presenters, and we would like to thank Anna and Judith for your time, and also would like to thank Grameen Foundation and FAO for giving us the platform to be able to share this. Remember, you can access the Grameen website to find the reports about this FarmerLink, and you will also be able to download, as we gave you, the agriculture promising practice for this. For those that are interested in such similar e-agriculture webinars, we have another webinar slated on the 16th of May, on the 15th. And we will be able to share with you these. So thank you very much, and we're looking forward to you in the next webinar. Meanwhile, you can let us know